Relax, Darren, relax. Don Sensei.
Big Brother Almighty.
That's what that is. 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 That's what that mighty dollar make this dirty world spin. That's what that is. Rose gold team when she grin. That's what that is. I could make a meal times 10. That's what that is. And I don't trust the soul. CTN. That's what that is. If you ain't on your grind, then you shucking. That's what that is. Talk is cheap, but you ain't saying.
All right. Welcome to Alchemizing Energy, where we're bringing darkness to light. Today, we are talking about our new episode called Mental Break, episode 1. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Right now, we have on our panel, we have Mario, we have Nyla, and we have the Black Gem, Oya, and we are going to be talking to the one and only Don Sensei. Everybody give a clap to Don Sensei. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you so
us.
much for having me.
All right. So I'm
You
gonna
have
let
a
them
slight echo
yeah, I just
on
wanted like to say and then I'm gonna let everybody
your mic, DJ.
okay. I just wanted to introduce everybody. So go ahead. Oh yeah, go ahead, start.
Okay, how are you doing today, Don?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hold up.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Can
There you
you hear
go.
me
Now
now?
you're moving. I can hear you and see you moving now. Yeah. So,
Um,
what I would like to know is the name of our show is Mental Break, which implies that at some point in time you have experienced that. Before we get into that, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you grew up, maybe, what your passions are?
Absolutely. I was born in San Diego, California, raised in Chicago. Um, let me see. I've been in Texas now. I live in Texas, Dallas, Texas. Been here since 2008. A few passions of mine is music, giving back. Um, just want to make people smile. Anything I can do to make somebody smile, that's my thing.
Okay, all right. And going back to that title, Mental Break, it sounds like why would you have a mental break? Outside of you growing up in Chicago, I mean, I could guess, but could you tell us about growing up in Chicago?
Yeah, it was a little rough growing up there. For example, going to school, we didn't have school buses. We had to take the city bus to school. So just that in itself, I've seen whole lot of different kinds of people, different situations happen on the bus or at the bus stop because you're in the streets, essentially. So I seen some things I wasn't supposed to, was around people I wasn't supposed to be around. But thanks be to God, I got through that. Um, there's a lot of gang activity, of course, in the South Side. I was from the South Side of Chicago, 79th Street. So there's a lot of gang activity over there, and where I went to school was close to the projects. So I definitely had some experiences there,
Okay.
and I lived in a
Okay.
middle
So
class.
I could imagine you saying that you had to use the city bus. What was that?
I was saying my family was essentially
You
middle
have
class,
a slight
but
delay, but we're going to work through it.
my family
Okay.
was essentially
So you
middle class, but
in
but we lived
in
in the middle of
this
the
middle
hood.
class family. Okay, okay. So I know what that's like. How how did you maneuver that? Did your parents talk to you about the difference between you and your peers, or not?
No, they did the exact opposite. They didn't allow me to go outside. I would just be able to go to school, go to church, but I was not allowed to hang out with anyone. Um, they were so cognitive of keeping me away from the streets that I was not even allowed to be outside until I was about 15 years old.
You were not allowed to be outside until you were 15, like outside, like even going outside to play, nothing. Like you were not allowed to go outside and like
Okay,
play at all,
so
or like just
Right.
basketball, baseball.
If I went to play basketball, I had to be with my dad. He just didn't let me go outside to play until I was 15.
So what were you just in the house watching TV the whole time, or what?
In the house, I listened to the radio a lot. That's why I got into music because music was the only thing that gave me a sense of freedom. I can listen to any radio station I wanted to, and I would draw a lot. I was into art. Just I was in my room all the time. Never was able to come out.
Well, so it was it like because of the dangers of like Chicago, or was it just that like what was the reason? Why what was the reasoning that
He
they?
just didn't. He didn't think that I could handle myself. My dad is the big reason of that. He was afraid of me getting influenced by some gang members or anything that was going on negatively in the streets. He didn't think I could handle myself until I was 15 years old. Even though
Wow.
I was able to way before then, because I had to interact with kids at school and different types of backgrounds from that. But he was so afraid that I would join a gang that he didn't let me go outside.
So you weren't even allowed to like just okay, 5 years old. You can't even just go outside and play like nothing.
When when we lived in the suburbs, he let me go outside, but only to the end of the block. Like he was really strict. Mhm.
Oh wow, that's something. Go ahead, Black Jim.
So how does that affect you now as far as being able to socialize? Like are you um because I grew up something like that too, and it made me awkwardly social. I mean, socially awkward for a while. I'm just really coming into myself. So, how did that affect you?
It did the same with me. Socially awkward, um, very difficult to maintain friendships. I can make friends easily, but maintaining them was difficult. Um, my conversation wasn't uh, wasn't that applicable to my peers because they were experiencing things that I was not,
Mm.
that were normal to them, but it was abnormal to me because I wasn't allowed to be outside, allowed to be with other people. So um, today, I'm coming to my own. I'm learning more about myself every day. But there was a delay, on that because
Mhm.
of what I experienced in Chicago.
When I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to go outside because I lived across the street from the projects. And so my parents were afraid to let me. I could go outside, but I could only play in this alleyway.
Mm.
Like I lived above a pizza shop across from the projects in New Jersey. And yeah, I could play in the alleyway, but I just couldn't go past that. So
Hmm.
was it more of like a because of where you lived, it was like safety, or like because of like you lived in like a weird kind of like a place, or was it because you lived in like an apartment complex where you had to go down the stairs really far?
No, it was just a safety mandate that my dad put in place. He just wanted to make sure I wasn't I wasn't influenced by my peers or by any gang members where he couldn't raise me or where he didn't have control over the situation as regards to me. Um, he's very self conscious about. Well, at that time, he was very self conscious about how I viewed him as my father. That he didn't want anybody getting in his way. Does that make sense?
Was he highly religious, like a very like super religious, like a pastor or like anything like that, or?
No, he wasn't that religious. I mean, he's a devout Christian. Yes, he prays every morning, reads the Bible every day, but he wasn't that far into his beliefs that he wanted to be a pastor or none of that. He was actually head of security at my church. So his whole thing was safety and security.
Explains a lot. Any other question? Does anybody? So we got to the. Anybody have a question?
So when you in crowds like right now, like if you go into a crowd or you're around people, do you feel like some type of anxiety?
I do. Like I recently went to a Run DMC concert in Dallas, and I didn't really get into the crowd too much. I was on that like on the outskirts of the crowd where I could easily walk away when I felt like it. Yeah, big crowds are. I don't really run to a big crowd. I normally
Mhm.
stay on the outside looking in, um, unless there's a common interest like that I'm into. Then I wouldn't really be in a big crowd. I would rather not.
Mhm.
So this series is called Mental Break, right? And the whole objective is to talk about what causes the mental break, right? Um,
Mhm.
do you have what happens when you have a mental break, right? So I know you spoke to Nyla earlier, and we covered a lot of stuff about this mental break that did happen in your life. So and then we also got into like how like the past like made those things kind of like relevant, right? So you talked about your parents, and the fact that they were divorced early. But first, I'm not sure how we should do this. Nala, what do you think? Should we go into the mental break first, or should we go into like the?
Um, how do you want to do it, Don? Do you want to talk about the mental break? What happened when between, we was talking about between 1 and 7, the foundation, or do you want to talk about when they took you to the hospital and it kind of seemed like the violation of your rights? What do you want to talk about
Um,
first?
I want to talk about the violation of rights at the hospital.
Mhm.
That's more fresh on my mind. Um, Dealing with these hospitals and these doctors.
Mhm.
So, what caused the mental break to lead into that?
Well, to be honest, my first hospitalization didn't even come from a mental break. I was set up. Um,
Mm.
I was at this homeless shelter. I was homeless at the time. I was going through the residential program to get my own apartment. I had a bunk at the shelter, and I was in the program. I was checking in every other day with my case manager. Things were going pretty good as far as my progress for that was going. And one of the other tenants, one of the other people that was there, that was also homeless. Um, I didn't want to be his friend. I wasn't trying to make friends. I was just trying to make my way out of there. And he took it out on me by robbing me of my things. He took some of my clothes. He took my laptop, my phone, wallet, and he conspired with the security guards at the homeless shelter to do it because they were family. Um, they didn't let me in to get the remaining of my things. They ended up calling the police on me for criminal trespassing, and I was evaluated at the jail. And because I was so irate and so just taken aback from that stuff going on, they admitted me into Parkland Hospital to be further evaluated. But they put me on medication that I was not supposed to be on. And I talked with the doctors at the end of the 2 week evaluation, and I essentially diagnosed myself with bipolar because they didn't have a diagnosis for me. They asked me what did I think it should be, and I went with what my family was telling me. They all believed that I was bipolar, so I just took their word for it. But that was not the case, and I became bipolar over time, taking those antipsychotic drugs that they were prescribing me. Um, when all I really needed was some counseling. I didn't need drugs, and I don't do drugs, but now I have to take them because my body is used to them, or my my body or my mind wants them now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
did they like put you under a thing where you had to take them and had to be in your system a certain amount or you would get in trouble? Like what so
yeah, like the way that they do it is they don't let you go home unless you have a consistent track record in that hospital visit of taking the medications that they want you to take. Like they don't let you go home. So that's the catch-22 that they give you. Like, oh, if you want to go home, if you want to leave, you got to take these pills for X amount of days under our supervision, and then they can let you go. Because if they let you go and you do something to somebody or you harm yourself, the hospital and the doctors are at fault. So to keep them out of harm's way of that, they put the ultimatum on you that you can't go home unless you take these pills.
wow, that's crazy.
That
And
just
you was
seems so wrong on so many levels.
But
Like,
I'm not the only one.
is that legal?
That is legal. Everything they're doing is legal. Texas law has it set up for them to have that kind of control over you.
wow.
And if I can ask Dom, had prior to that, had you ever taken any type of psych meds or
No,
anything like that?
well, I have taken
Ugh.
meds for ADHD in my childhood, but
Hmm.
I didn't take nothing. I stopped taking them when I was 14. I took them when I was 12 to 14 years old, and then my dad took me off of them because my grades came up, and I just seemed like I was overall better. So
Right.
and now, but 4 years ago I was 27, so that was about 13 years I didn't take nothing.
What did you take for ADHD? What
Wow.
medication?
I took Concerta.
Is that Ritalin? Is that Ritalin?
I think it's a version of it. It wasn't as strong as Ritalin.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the show right now. Okay, thank you.
I wonder if the like some of those drugs like cause like some kind of like bipolar as well.
Yeah,
Concern.
like the drugs, they actually, and a doctor told me this from another hospital. They said that my chemical balance in my brain was altered because I was taking those medicines. So it literally changed me.
Hmm.
It changed how I talk to people. It changed how I think. Um, just everything about my mental buildup was breaking down by those medicines that I took. And they just kept testing different types of medicine on me to see what would so-called work. Um, and I'm sure they were selling that data to somebody else.
Well, you know what? That's a common practice in the. I think that the medical field is very. They don't really know, so they're just like they give you something. They wait and see what if you come back and have a thing, and then they come back and say, "Oh, okay, well this didn't work. Well that didn't work." You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
it seems to be a common practice that they like kind of it's practicing. They're practicing. You know.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, yeah. They're literally practicing medicine on innocent people.
So tell us a little bit more about your whole thing that happened to you and you got diagnosed. All that whole the story about. Tell us the story about what happened.
Okay, so when I went in there in Parkland, they put me on the top floor, the mental health floor, and they give you your own quarters, your own place to sleep in your own room, um, and they give you your medicine, however often you're supposed to take it, and they monitor you from afar, but they look at you, how you interact with the other patients, how you interact with the doctors. They take notes of all those things, and I was there for 14 days. And at the end of the 14 days, they said I was eligible to go home. And they asked me if I had any questions. And I said, well, y'all have had a chance to monitor me for 2 weeks. What do y'all think my diagnosis is? And the doctor looked at me and she asked me, what do you think it should be? And I was just taken aback by that. I was like, what do you mean? What do I think? Like, y'all.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
So, but they just asked me again, like, what do you think? And I just repeated what my family was telling me that I had, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna go with that." And they said, "Yeah, we hate to break it to you, but you're bipolar, and you have to take these meds for the rest of your life." And I just couldn't accept that. It took me a whole year to accept that as what it could be as truth for me, because I didn't believe it. Um, and then when they gave me the injection and I went home, um, I was not the same person that I went. I was not the same person that went into the hospital. I was a whole other person.
When you say you're not the same person, what do you mean you're not the same person? What do
I
you
was
mean?
disrespectful to my mom, to my son's mother. I was uh, some things that I would saying things that I would normally keep to myself. I was actually saying them. Negative things. Just like I'm an overall nice guy. I don't like confrontation, but I wanted all the smoke when I was on that medicine. I didn't care, um, and that really
So
damaged.
so what if the nice guy and not avoiding confusion is a way of keeping down that underlying emotion and being that you truly were, and the drugs just allowed it to erupt and come through.
I can see that. I
Yeah,
thought about that too. That maybe this is who I really am, and I've just been pushing them down all this time.
yeah, because of what you expressed to me, what happened 1 through 7. If you care to express that, that would set up that type of behavior. And society, because we have to act a certain way in society, it will make us push those emotions down and
Mhm.
hide what is really going on inside of us.
Explain some of the things that happened to you from 1 to 7.
1 to 7. First thing was my parents divorced when I was 2, and the remaining of my childhood, 2 to 18, which is 16 years, was split between my mom and my dad by court order. I was supposed to stay with my mom till I was 10 and go to my dad and live with him till I was 18. That was the original plan. So I was with my mom, single mom in California. It's expensive. We're moving around every 3 to 6 months because she can't keep a place to live because it was expensive out there for her. Um, she's living on child support in her job. Um, she ended up leaving me to some individuals from her church that would watch me when she had to work or whatever she had to take care of. And one of those individuals sexually abused me when I was 6 years old, um, and she didn't know about it.
Was it a male or a female?
It was a male. I was 6. He was no older than he was a child himself. He was probably 12 or 13, his own self.
Yeah.
And, I'm pretty sure he was just repeating what was done to him. Um, because like I said, nobody knew anything until I got older when I got into therapy, and that's when it came out. Um, and what else? Just moving. We were living with other people. We weren't even living by ourselves. We were living with other people. Like it was just a lot going on at that time. My life was very unstable.
Sorry.
So that is, what happens between, I would say that when you're in the mother's womb and up to 7 years old, whatever happened through that time period is the frequency that you will keep repeating throughout your life. It's like an underlying current that that keeps running, and we behave off of that. And so whatever frequency we are on and experience through that time period is what would keep being attracted to us.
And it's
So
crazy that it's just very ironic because that instability still is with me today. As far as where I'm living, um, I still to this day haven't been in one place for more than a year at a time.
yeah,
Um,
so I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was finished.
No, basically, you just basically repeating that pattern that happened between 1 and 7. I mean, it started at 2 when your parents split. That was traumatic for a 2-year-old. Also, then on top of that, what you experienced as far as the molestation, that was traumatic. And then from not being stable, so basically, you could not help the way things turned out because you didn't know. I mean, you couldn't control what happened between 1 and 7. So now that current is keep running, and until that is released from your body, that trauma, you will keep experiencing it. Um, you know, and it's like it forms these traumas forms neural patterns in the body, and it forms a loop, and it keeps repeating, and it's following the track of least resistance. And because you've been in this type of traumatic, this PTSD, you know since you were a child, it's very easy for these loops to keep repeating itself. And
Hmm.
they have different healing modalities that what it does is it comes in and it obliterates those pathways. And so when you keep doing these healing modalities, then they form new pathways, and then you'll find that your life start changing.
Yeah.
I'm a go ahead.
Go ahead, Nala. Go ahead. Explain.
Can I
uh
ask
you
her a
know
question? Well, I was. She's probably gonna say. I was gonna say, do you know some techniques that he could use, like, or anyone
oh
who's
yeah.
listening? Are there some techniques that you could share with the listening audience as well as Don and the rest of us?
Let me start off by saying that I am not a psychologist, and I don't practice psychiatry or anything like that. What I'm going to testify about is healing modalities that made me a better version of myself, because he and I are very similar in our childhood trauma. And so I was repeating those same sabotage and destructive patterns because of my childhood, and these different healing modalities went in and helped me to be a better version of myself. So I did things like hypnosis. I've done energy medicine, um, tapping. There's so many modalities out there. Meditation is a big one. I meditate twice a day. you know uh that is I would say really what helped me the most calm down my energetic system is meditation. But I also did other healing modalities as well. I say
Tapping did a
tapping.
lot for me. Oh, girl, yes,
Yes,
tapping
tapping
helped
is
me.
really good.
Whew,
Tapping is
Explain
especially.
amazing.
what is tapping, you
Yeah,
guys?
what is that?
What is that? What is tapping?
Okay.
You want to explain it, or
You can go ahead and explain it. I'd love to
okay?
hear. I love when other people talk, and you sound like you. I do it for myself, but I've never like offered it to any of my clients just as a resource. But I send them to someone else to get the actual information. So yes, I'd love to hear how you went about doing that. Yes.
Well, what tapping does, it goes in these certain areas of the body that you tap on that can release the trauma. And so you tap on those different areas, and it's really important, right, that you catch it when it's happening. Say, like, if you got in an argument with someone, sneak off into the bathroom or the car and start tapping on these particular points, because it's not just that argument. That argument branches to different what I want to say traumas that's lying in the body, different areas in the body that's holding different traumas, or different insecurities. It goes in when you tap. It's not only tapping that particular incident that you're in, it's also obliterating that those traumas in those areas.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's really good. And what you can
It.
do is it even go ahead.
I was gonna say, for instance, because of dealing with because of dealing with people telling me things about myself my whole life, like, oh, you're a crybaby, oh, you're stupid, oh, you're this, oh, you're that, oh, you're evil. I had a lot of mental disturbance. I had a lot of intrusive thoughts, if you will. And when I discovered tapping, what I would do is, like, as soon as I caught myself emotionally or in my inner language beating myself up, I would like take a deep breath and I would just tap my temples and I would think, you're fine. You're smart. Whatever you don't know, you can figure out. You can ask someone. So I would reaffirm with that touch that everything was okay, that and I would never, I learned to not say I'm not stupid or something like that. I would affirm something positive about myself, like, I'm tapping my temple very lightly while telling myself, you are smart, and whatever you don't know, you can ask and you can find out. You're really good at research. Like, I would really be gently speaking with myself while I gently tap my temples, since that's where the source of the discomfort was coming from. um, of course, there's different points for different people. Temple is just what worked well for me, and something about my left shoulder. When I tap it with those two fingers, and usually that's about, for me, I would tap my left shoulder when I felt afraid for someone. I grew up without touch. I grew up with a mother who didn't hug me, kiss me, tell me she loved me. So I had this aversion to touch for the longest time. And when I would shrink away from a hug, I'd catch it sometimes, and then I'd, like you say, go in private, and I'd tap my left shoulder and then hug myself and say, "It's okay to be touched.
Can
You're a
you give
beautiful
an example
person."
of a
Like
tapping? Can you give an example of tapping? I'm gonna bring you up to the middle. Give an
sure,
example.
tapping. So I would be like, everything is going to be okay. You're really smart. You know what to do. Things are going to be all right. You have the answers. And if you don't, you can ask. And I would just do that until my system was flooded with the feelings that are associated with thinking that way. Same thing with the shoulder. I would be like, it's okay if they want to hug you. This is a safe person. They love you. They can hug you. That's all right. They can touch you. And I would rub myself. I learned how to actually hug myself in therapy. I was in a group therapy session, and I was making this face, and the lady asked, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "I don't want to cry." And this is where I learned about crying, and there's different type of tears, and why it's important to cry, because it lets some of those toxins from stressors that are actually in the body as chemicals. It helps to release them. And she gave me the lesson of hugging. And shortly after that, I was introduced to tapping. And so, yeah, literally it's like a this. Some people do on the heart. Some people it's, and then I've also heard of tapping being a very effective way of reprogramming for people who got a lot of spankings. So there's a certain thing with touch and a command. And so they need a touch because they've been programmed to think touch and a command go together. So you can reintroduce tapping to that person and their system, and it can actually help them reprogram so that they respond to a gentler touch and a more positive touch. Is that am I saying it correctly, Nyla?
Yeah,
Yes.
that makes
I,
sense.
you know, it, a lot of people do tapping in different ways. I mean, that's just one way of doing it. There's so many ways to
Mhm.
doing tapping. I myself, what
Absolutely.
I do is tap on. When I'm going through something, right? I tap on different points of my body.
Can you
And
show
Don,
an example? Can you
I
show an
would be.
example?
Oh my God, I'm horrible. I didn't even dress up for this. um,
No, this is
uh,
not about how you look.
yeah,
This is
I
about
know that,
therapy.
but yeah. But Don, I will be very I wouldn't have a problem showing you helping you with tapping. But when I tap, I release. I say, okay, it's okay to let this go. I'm releasing all anger, I'm releasing all fear, I'm releasing all trauma, and I tap at different sections of my body. Um,
Is it
but
like
you know what?
tapping circle points, or like how do you
Yeah,
know?
It
Like how do you,
yeah.
how do you know
you're
where? How do you know
you're
where to tap?
you're tapping different meridian points on your body. And
Mhm.
hold for a second. Someone's knocking on my door.
I'll pick up where you just yeah, you tap, you can, and also, like, there's books on it. You can actually when you get off tonight, you can look that up on YouTube. There's a lot of free resources that matter on YouTube. And then also, like me, I know about the meridians and like sometimes even tapping on your lymph nodes because your different spaces in your body will hold that trauma. But then like I also listen to my body to say where it may want to be tapped to help release it. Like I'm okay with trusting my body to say, hey, if you touch me here, if you like talking to your body, like, hey body, I want to tap you for this reason. Where, you can do that too in an intuitive way.
So, I mean, y'all convinced me to come on the camera. I'm not looking the best,
Honey,
but
You're
you are
beautiful. You are
absolutely
beautiful. You are
stunning. You are
beautiful.
stunning,
And I'm not
girl.
just
What are
saying
you
that.
talking about?
You
so
look
this
good.
is air. I will start here, and I will tell I was whatever I'm feeling. I will say I'm releasing, letting this go. Here, I'm releasing and letting this go. Here, but you're still calling out the emotions. I'm releasing and letting this go. Here, I'm releasing and letting this go. And then you take your wrist. You take a deep breath in. And as you breathing out, at the end, you say peace. And you keep doing that until you don't no longer feel that emotion.
Okay.
That's
Right.
exactly how it goes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it works.
And
It works. It almost I don't want to say instantly, but it's like something about the intention of believing in yourself, the intention of loving yourself, and then adding that touch. It is a sort of like, there's a thing with addiction and things like that where basically you're really trying to solve the problem, but it's not the best way to solve it. So if you're that type of person where you want to solve your own problem and you're doing tapping, there is a very like, I don't want to use the word instant, but the relief is, I don't know the right word, Nyla, but the relief comes like when it's
yeah,
there.
it really
It's not.
does. And it's permanent. It you will find you make a little bit of it, may layers may come back later, but you can easily tap it out and it's going to eventually come out. But you know what I like about tapping too is that tapping is beyond time. You can go back to that time when you was when you were 2 years old, and you can go gather up, feel that emotion because it's still in your body. You feel that emotion and you can start from there and tap that out. And guess what? That trauma will be obliterated from your energetic system.
So
Also, hypnosis that hmm,
So I would say this too is that, see, what people will do is they tap our behinds when we do something wrong.
hmm.
Nobody tapped us gently when we did something and said it's okay, it's all
And
right.
what you can do
But
is
what happened is that as babies, right, when a baby was
mhm,
crying, what would you do? You would tap the little baby's bottom and make sure the baby say, "It's okay, baby," and you would tap that baby. Do you know what happens
mm,
when you hold a baby? You tap its little behind.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's like a form of tapping, right? And the baby would like
Yeah.
it to calm down, right? So
Positive
it's a
touch.
thing that
Yes.
we forgot about that. Like just as we don't just so the only like so we will spank you and spank you did this wrong dot 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 dot.
Yeah.
Forgot about the it's okay. You're gonna be okay.
mhm,
And we hold
mhm.
our arms and tap its little bottom and tap its back. So it's like we learn how to spank our children, but we forgot about the when they're feeling sad, give them a hug and just tap
Mhm.
them and say it's okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we lost that ability because the only thing that we after we get older, the only touch that we give in a tapping format is to punish.
Mm.
And it's important too, once you release that trauma that, through tapping. And it's not just like I said, I don't want to get stuck on tapping. It's a lot of healing modalities. Another thing that I like
Yeah.
is I like microdosing. That is very powerful too. But back to tapping, um, it's important that once you release that energy, right? You go back in and you put it in with you put good energy. So you go back on those points and you tap like Oya B Gold just said, I'm enough. I'm worthy. Different
Yes.
affirmations, but also too, a good thing is that go after you finish tapping, Go back in time when you were your most happiest, when you had so much fun, and you go back in time and you remember it and you really feel it, and you start tapping, and then you start that tapping, what you're feeling, those emotions are now going into those meridian points, filling
Yes.
in that area where you just released all those toxins. So I mean, it's not something that's this here, and it looks silly, right? You're gonna feel silly doing it in the beginning. I don't, because I know the power of it now, but it really works,
I
and
I
you
was
just
so desperate it never felt silly. It was like anything that I can do to avoid someone get like he said having a horrible experience with drugs, or it just seemed like anything. I was willing to try anything when you go into that type of mental
Mhm.
emotional discomfort. I was like, sure, I'll try that. And I went in with that positive attitude, and that relief was so instant. And I think I started tapping, I want to say in 2002, and I'm still tapping. You like you said, you get in
Yeah,
the nooks and the crannies of it, and
right,
it's just it's
right.
amazing. It's amazing self medicine that doesn't involve anyone but you
It
yourself.
really is.
So
I'm
I
def-
want to. So okay, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was saying I'm gonna definitely try that tonight. See how it works for me.
I want to get even further deeper into how you felt like the doctors were experimenting on you. How because you mentioned that they were giving you different medications, they were doing different
Yeah.
things. Like yeah,
So
so I want to
I'm,
get into that.
my most recent hospitalizations, I went 5 times in 45 days. Um, well, no, not 5 times. I
Five
went to
times in
five,
40.
five hospital visits in 45 days. So what would happen is uh, the like the first time that I went, my roommate called the police for a noise complaint on me. We live in the same house, and she called a noise complaint on me for my music after we had an understanding that I do music, and I let her know when I do it and all that. But long story short, police came by and he tased me 2 times because I didn't want to cooperate with what he was talking about because I didn't feel like I broke the law at all, and I didn't. He hadn't have a warrant for me or nothing, but he had an order to pick me up on what they call an emergency detention. And in Texas, if you're on a mental health caseload in anywhere, any hospital, if you're on file that you have mental health issues, they could detain you in the hospital like under their own discretion. They don't have to like they won't listen to me or like if somebody calls them and say hey he's having a problem or he's having a mental episode, the police can just pick me up and put me in the hospital against my will. And I have a lawyer and everything. Like it's not even a legal case, but it's a civil kind of thing. It's under civil law that they're able to do this.
So are you saying that I can like be like I can get into an argument with you?
And you can call the police and say he's not he's acting irate. He's yelling at me and being irrational, and they will come pick me up and put me in a hospital for 3 days against my will. And if they feel like I need further evaluation, they'll put me in the nearest mental health hospital to be further evaluated, and I'll be held against my will until the doctor says I'm able to go home.
And what's the longest you've been held?
14 days.
Oh
What's the
my.
longest what's the longest they can hold you though?
They can hold you up to 90 days. Yep. If they feel like you're not making any progress and if they feel like you're going to be a harm to yourself or to other people, they can hold you up to 90 days against your will.
So all this started just because of like this one the incident that happened. Uh,
In 2020 at Parkland, yes.
Man.
So
and
ever since then, I've been officially on a mental health caseload, and I've been hospitalized so many times that my diagnosis is pretty much set in stone. I can't fight my diagnosis because I've been hospitalized so many times since I was first diagnosed, and I diagnosed myself.
wow.
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 Yeah.
So
And
it's
they
like,
won't let you undiagnose yourself. It's
Right.
funny. They let you
Yeah.
diagnose yourself, but they won't let you undiagnose yourself.
Correct.
Amazing.
but you're not on Social Security right now, are you?
No, I'm not on Social Security right now.
So wow, okay. And you can get a regular job. You can go out and get a job and everything like that.
Yep.
But but at any point you could be at the job and someone could say, he flipped the burgers too hard, and you know what? There's something wrong with him. And they can like call the police on you, and then they will come and get you up out your job.
And take me straight to the hospital.
Wow. So now we have a man here. Um, I wanted to like get Mario. Mario, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I want to get your opinion. What do you think about this? About like just do you think that this is right?
Well, I'm trying not to have really, in the sense of, I have to gather my thoughts on that.
Man, listen, I would say this. Just speak your mind. You don't have to hold back or like try to because you might want to offend somebody. Just speak exactly what you.
You're not gonna offend me at all. So please speak your piece.
Yeah. Well, I feel like just like what we were talking about, prior, when you, if something's wrong, you need to talk about it. You need to address it, not be a part of it. And I know I've had many situations where people are doing things that weren't right, and it came back on me. So, and how it came back on me was, you're a part of it. So, give you an example. I have this is kind of different, but I have a technical company build cell phone towers. One of my partners, I gave him the job to keep him from robbing people. When he's at work, he would steal the copper on the cell sites,
Mm.
and because they wanted on a site that I'm on, you know, and people
Your
made
phone is
mention
not.
of it, which I'm sorry, I apologize. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
The people made mention of it, and basically, I didn't do any work with it anymore. I lost a little money just because of shit. So, I think at any time when you dealing with things, you need to address it right up front and be proactive with everything, and not ever operate in the shadows at all.
So we have a new person that just joined, Derek 444. What's up, Derek 444?
Hey, how you doing?
Have you heard the story, the conversation so far, or are you just kind of joining in?
Yeah, just tapping in.
Okay, so what we're talking about is the fact that our young brother, Mr. Don Sensei, he pretty much he's saying that they he self-diagnosed himself, and then from that point he's been in and out of hospitals because of Texas law. What happens in Texas is that once you have a mental health situation, that anybody can call mental health on you, and you will immediately get taken to a hospital, and they can hold you for like 14 up to like 90 days in the hospital. And so like it's been several times, like even like this, I guess he says like over the past what month.
Yeah, over the past 45 days, I've been in. I had 5 different hospital visits.
based on what, because people felt like you were being too irate or you were doing things. Now I want to kind of like hold like some accountability here. Okay, if you're getting like put into the hospital every for over 45-day period, and like at some point something, you don't think that something must be going on. Now you said
Now,
that.
I will admit, one of those times I called on myself to go to the hospital because the medicine that I was on, I caught myself about to have an episode, so I called the hospital on myself to get picked up. But the other times, it was someone else that seen me do or talk a certain way. Like people believe that I talk too aggressively when I'm really being assertive. Um, but people are not used to the way that I speak. Like I talk like I'm from Chicago, and people are not used to that. And that would be one of the triggers for them to call the authorities on me.
Is it because they know that you have a mental health case, so therefore, do you think that they know that they can like just it's gonna be?
Half of it, half the time, I feel like somebody knows. The other half, I feel like it was just got caught on bad luck, and the police got involved. Like again, I was never in trouble. I never broke the law or did anything against against the law. They just because they knew that they could, that they knew who I was. Like the police would pull up on me and they say my name, like they know who I am because I'm in the database.
Hmm.
So it's almost like you're like a marked target at this point.
Yeah, in Dallas, the police know who I am, and the hospitals know who I am.
Wow. So no matter what you do, if someone like calls on you, you're going right to the mental ward up to like 14 to 90 days. So
Like
and
first, yeah,
Can I
first
ask a
one,
question?
first is oh,
you go ahead.
Is it possible for you to get your own private provider for mental health care that you can build a long-term relationship with and then work through these issues and see what can be legally done about the record that you have, or if a new record could offset the old record? Is that something that's possible for you, or is that something that you've thought of?
I have to get a mental health lawyer to challenge
Oh, wow.
all that stuff.
And also talk about the time that you were working for Amazon and how you had it all
Okay,
together.
so I worked for Amazon. I had benefits. I was actually participating in the counseling program. I had a therapist that I call every Friday, um, and the medicine that I was on, I had triggers, and they were weird triggers. Like one of them was I don't like open blinds or open doors, like well doors that are unlocked. I couldn't deal with that. Like this light in front of me, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I would have to wear shades. Like I have my shades near me, just in case. But too much exposure to artificial light was a trigger for an episode for me. Blatant disrespect. Like if you disrespect me in my face, I would I would not take that very well. Um, and so with Amazon, they were doing all those things. Like they didn't respect me about having to wear shades at work because they have all this light everywhere. It's nothing but fluorescent light everywhere, and it gave me a headache. So I had to wear shades at work. Um, People talked about me because I wore shades at work. They felt like I couldn't work as good as the next person when I was actually doing better than most. It was just a lot going on at Amazon, and the last thing that happened was HR was supposed to give me a lift to the hospital to get looked at, and the lift never came. And I ended up being outside for 48 hours because I was going through a mental health episode,
Hmm.
and I never made it to the hospital at that time. The police had to find me on the street. Somebody called the police because I was walking on the street, and they came and picked me up.
So explain a mental health episode. What does that feel like?
So you you just lose touch with yourself. You don't think clearly. You may think someone's after you. Um, you don't trust, like I didn't trust anyone. I didn't trust my mom, my family. I didn't trust anybody. I just wanted to be by myself. That's when I knew that I was in the episode. That's normally the telltale sign when I can't trust anybody that actually has my best interests at heart.
And that would be like a kind of mental what they would call a mental break, right? When you're starting
Right.
to feel like I can't trust nobody, I can't do this, I can't do that. Now you're
I, would-
saying that when you
I,
were
I wouldn't trust anybody. I would forget to eat, even though I know I'm hungry. I would forget to eat, like stuff like that would be going on. And I believe that it all stemmed from these medications, these antipsychotic medications. I will say they put me on what they call a mood stabilizer, and that helped me with my anxiety. But I believe that that's the only, if I needed medication, that's the only one that I needed. I didn't need any antipsychotic drugs.
a question is that like okay, I remember you telling me a story about that when you do go into like these feelings that you might give away all your stuff. Like I remember you
Yeah.
said that you had like a laptop and go ahead tell the story.
Okay,
Yes.
it's back. I went offline, y'all. I'm back. I'm not sure what
Okay, yeah. So he's talking about the story. Go ahead.
So, like I would be overly giving. Like I would be worried about everyone around me that were total strangers. Like I wouldn't trust the people that I knew, and then total strangers, I feel like I'm responsible for them, especially if they're homeless or they didn't eat or something. Like I would feed somebody else before I fed myself. That kind of thing. It's just that's what would be going on, um, and that was what my episodes would look like. It wouldn't look like I'm going crazy or I want to fight somebody or none of that. It was always they called it having a manic or mania episode where I was overly giving, overly trying to take care of people that I really couldn't afford to take care of.
I remember you told me a story about how you gave your NPC player away to a.
Yeah, I had a whole studio downtown Dallas, 16th
You
floor.
had an MPC through. You had an MPC and you gave it away. Oh
Gave it
my!
away.
I just know as a musician and as a producer, someone who makes beats, like when you get that tool, that's a special tool every producer and engineer gets. Like,
Hmm. And I gave it away to a homeless man because I was tripping on myself. I didn't think that I deserved it, and I gave it away.
Hmm.
And then also you said you threw your laptop in the air and
Yeah, the laptop I'm on right now is a replacement from the one I had because um, I had everything in a shoebox that I produced with, and I wanted to give it back to God. I didn't want to drink my cup anymore. I don't know if y'all believe in God or anything, but I really I just didn't think that I was capable of maintaining what I was doing with the music because of what I was dealing with the mental health stuff, and I just wanted to give it all away, give it all up because I felt like I couldn't handle it, because I couldn't handle myself during that time. I just I lost trust in myself.
so was there anything that happened that triggered this or like an incident that happened that made you feel this way?
Um, yes, I had my own place for the first time. I had a lease and everything, but I wasn't eating well every day. I didn't make enough. I didn't make a lot of money to where I could eat like I wanted to, or eat like I should have been, um, and that stressed me out. I feel like music was a waste of my time because I wasn't making any money with it, and I feel like it was in my way, and that's why I kind of threw everything up in the air and just let it break on the ground. I replaced everything. I have everything now, but at the time, I just didn't trust myself.
So did someone see that and then call like the mental
Yeah, yeah. They called for disturbing the peace. That's what they called on me for. Because I was actually I was his childhood. Yes, I did talk about my childhood already earlier. But no, I just going back to what we were talking about. I just I didn't think that I was capable of making it with music because I wasn't making no money.
Right.
And
So just to like do a recap for people that are just joining, he talked about his childhood that, he had divorced parents that divorced at the age of 2. Um he was between his household with his mom and his dad. He would be going back and forth. He was abused at the age at an early age by babysitters and or no by younger kids that was around during when he was getting babysat. They were like about 12. He was probably about like what, 7,
oh yeah,
6, and so like other kids would like sexual like the males would abuse him, and so there's a lot of trauma that's going on in these situations, and that's when we talked about tapping and how to like deal with those traumas, and also utilizing different modalities to deal with that, because what's happening is that in this healthcare system, what's happening is that for the mentally ill, they're giving you like drugs that really aren't doing anything, that's probably even making the problem exasperated. Would you agree with that?
and what the yes, and what they'll tell you, what the doctors will normally tell you is that it's gonna get worse before it gets better. That's how they sell it to you, and it really does get worse before it gets
Wow.
better. Yeah.
And you're saying that even like your bipolarism really didn't even come on until you started taking these medications, like that someone that you went into the system, they asked you what your diagnosis was, you told them bipolar, and they just said, okay, yeah, guess what, yeah, you're bipolar, and then they gave you the medication without any real like data or nothing like that
Right.
to back it
That's
up.
exactly how it went down. Yep.
And then from there, they gave you this medication. You begin to take it, and then from that point on, you begin to suffer more and more as time went on because of the medication they gave you was not probably like properly diagnosed. And that's what it seems to be like a lot of times, that like maybe a person might go through a mental break, and then it's almost like the doctors are experimenting on them. Okay, does this work? Does this work? They just combine different things. Okay, is this right? Is this right? Well, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, don't make, yeah, I can't name the meds. We ain't gonna name the meds.
No, no, we're not gonna do that. But just
Yeah, and
basically,
it's crazy because now we're in this world where people like me and others are advocating for others to, seek therapy, seek mental help from facilities, and and on the offset, these types of things are happening. And unfortunately, if you're more on the poverty line, or maybe even getting some type of like, I don't know if Medicaid would be, but if you're getting something where you're not in complete control, now you're maybe subjected to people who want to, like you say, practice on you versus help you solve your problem. And for our young black men, or just young men in period, you know, they communicate differently. Sometimes there's some challenges there to be vulnerable and talk about your feelings. And now you have people kind of handling you in a way that doesn't serve your mental health. How do you feel about everything looking forward? What do you think about what's to come? And is there something that you are looking towards, even if it is just getting a mental health lawyer? How are you feeling about your future as it relates to your mental health?
well, I just had to continue to be vigilant and cognitive of myself, of my normal self. Know what, had to know what that looks like, and I do now. Um, when I get the funds to get representation, I will do that. I don't think there's a statute of limitations on um, what I went through, and I just have a good outlook on life. I mean, I choose to to be positive. That is, being positive is a choice at the end of the day. Um, and so as long as I continue to choose that, I feel like I'll be all right. And I have God, of course, first and foremost. He keeps me up, and
Yes.
I can go to Him for anything. And I know that I've been through a lot of other things in my life, and I came out all right. So, you know, wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last time that he come through. You know what I mean?
I
So,
absolutely do know what you mean.
so you told me that they put you they shot you with remember you told me that the last time the most recent time you went into the medical facility they had.
I had the most recent time that I was in there, they gave me 6 shots in 2 days. I had four. I had two in each arm the first day, and then they gave me another one the following day, and then that night I had another one. So I had 6 shots in 2 days. I don't know what they gave me. They told me what they were giving me, but I had my suspicions. Like I don't know if they were really being honest. I don't know if I got the COVID shot and a booster. I don't know what they gave me.
I
But
don't think it was a COVID shot. They have to like keep track of that because there's a whole thing
but
going on with that.
but do you see where I'm coming from? Like I didn't know. I was just
Right, they're just giving you a shot, not even saying, "Okay, well, this is the shot we're giving you." There's no respect, right, given because you are a mental patient, and they can just
That
shoot
part.
you.
it was either take
Oh
those
man.
shots or I couldn't go home. So I just took them.
Whew.
That's the position that they put you in. I remember when they gave me medication for a few days and I was fine, positive, and then they changed it. I had an episode in the hospital. Like I collapsed. I couldn't move my legs. Like they had to give me another medication to offset that one to come back to. Um, but yeah, they were just trying a bunch of different ones to see if they got the results that they wanted. And I couldn't go home unless I took these medications and took those shots.
And I remember you telling us that me and Nyla that you were doing good, you had a job and everything like that, and then you had ended up losing everything, like the job, everything.
Yeah, because I couldn't. I have to call HR from my phone. I can't just call them. And so, being in the hospital for all those days, I actually got terminated from Amazon. I had to show them my paperwork to tell them that I was in the hospital for those 12 days on that first time to get my job back. And then uh, the last time that I was in there for 10 days. They terminated me again, and they told me I had to wait 30 days before I could reapply to go back to work at Amazon. So I have to wait until March now to get my job back if I wanted to work over there.
It sounds like these the repeat trauma from your childhood is just keep repeating itself and causing these catastrophes in your life. It's what it seems like. It's like that energy has to be obliterated and cleared.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So we were
It
talking about
takes a
earlier,
village, and we're gonna help. I'm sorry. I'm just wanting to say, like, it takes a village, and we are definitely gonna help you do this.
I
Cause,
appreciate it.
baby,
we were talking about different modalities of healing, right? So one of them we were talking about psilocybin and like microdosing and things like that. So I wanted like to talk about that and like lean into some of those things like that because like these
sure.
medications are I like okay. Let me just give you my story. So my child's father was he was in a group called Slum Village, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, right? And they put him on Respirado, right? And as a person that's on and lithium and this, that, the other, that didn't really do nothing. Like I don't, uh, and most people that are on those medications do not want to be on them. I've never known nobody that takes it. It's like, yeah, yeah, put me on that. So, and also, Cyprexa.
Mm.
I'm not sure if Cyprexa still exists, but back then he was on either Cyprexa or Zyprexa or something.
It's Zyprexa. It still exists.
Yeah, and that he hated that one. And there would be times where he'd be sitting there listening to music and just be a zombie all night long, and just be hearing the same song over and over again, and wouldn't sleep. That's one problem that I see is that people do not. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't name the meds. Okay, my bad. So, but bottom line is that like One thing I did notice is that, like, like the like not sleeping. So do you have any issues like with sleep and like getting to sleep, and do these medications like try
These
to?
medications do affect my sleep. They actually gave me a sleeping pill to go along with those medicines when I left the last time because I wasn't sleeping well at the hospital. Like that's another thing that they look for. If you're not sleeping enough for them to be satisfied with you, if you're not acting like they want you to act, if you're not communicating with them, they want you to communicate. Those three things is the determining factors of if you are stable and if you are able to go back home.
Wow.
So I had to be somebody that I'm not just to get home. And then they put me on medications. They would double or triple the dosage of what I was taking to get me into another episode to have to come back to the hospital so they can make more money off of me being in there.
So when you say double and triple the dosage, like that means that they would purposely give you more, and then that would cause the episode to come again.
Right.
Are are you able to? Were you able to prove that, or
Yes. I have all the paperwork. I have a copy of I had them. I had the nurse print out what I was taking when I first got in there, and at the discharge, they give you a whole nother set of papers to show the dosage that they want you to be on when you leave, and it's always double or triple what I was being given at first. Every time you discharge, and then I tried to talk to the doctor about it before I left, and the doctor would never be there. He just coincidentally would never be there when I'm trying to get home. They would be discharging me, and the doctor's gone for the day, and you can't call the doctor. Like once you leave the facility and you're not in their care anymore, you're cut off from that doctor. You can't talk to that doctor about anything. So it just felt like it was all a scam.
Wow.
but
Yeah.
it would be nothing for the doctor to just up your dosage to keep from getting out of trouble.
But up in the dosage would put me in bigger trouble because my mind is not acclimated to those bigger dosage. It was acclimated to the smaller ones.
See, but they don't focus on the entire picture. It's like they have tunnel vision, and they're just trying to make that behavior go away.
Right.
You know.
And they think more dope is the answer, and it's not.
Almost like the chemical version of electroshock therapy.
Basically. And really, in reality, all I needed was a counselor to talk to.
Yeah.
I didn't need more medicine. I needed,
Were there counselors at the hospital at all? Did you talk?
yeah, but again, once you leave, you can't contact any of them. You can't be with any of them. They're only able to be with you while you're in their care at the hospital. And once you leave, you're on your own.
But logic and talking, it don't really clear these type of energies away. It takes more than just talking about it in logic. You know.
True. It's true. It's true. And I can
So
definitely speak to
you're so yeah,
the effects
talk
of the
enough. Talk therapy is not enough. It needs to be like a way to get back into the original, the first reason why you even got to this point to begin with.
Yeah, you need to get back to your original blueprint, and again,
yeah.
sacred plant medicine, different healing
Yes, that's what I was about to
modalities
say.
get you
Yep.
back into that
Hmm.
blueprint. Talking and logic is not going to fix it.
Okay.
When you say talking and logic, what do you mean talking and logic is not going to fix it? Just
What I mean is, you go and sit on someone's couch and you repeating this trauma about what happened, but it's not, the trauma is still existing in the body, is not being released. What good is that going to do? I would,
Yeah, because then you're
talking
just
and
ruminating.
yeah,
do you
talking
think
and
that talking is releasing it though? Like by talking about what
At a
happened?
certain
yeah,
at a
yeah,
certain point, but then when you're dealing with stuff that's trapped in your body, literally talk, it needs a little nudge. You need a little help with the
yeah.
talking.
Now it has its place. I would say, talking, releasing, and doing some type of sacred plant medicine or doing some type of energy healing or healing modality would help along with that, but just sitting on someone's couch talking about that, no. I mean, I've been in your place. I know exactly what you have gone through. I've had very traumatic events, and man, my father had me in all kind of talking to all kind of psychiatrics and sitting on people sofas, and none of that cleared. It didn't clear it until I really got into, okay, none of this has worked. I'm tired of being like this. I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of being everybody's doormat. I'm tired of, feeling unworthy. This has got to stop. And, when I start going into sacred plant medicine, different healing modalities, is when I start seeing a better version of myself.
Can you like go into your story a little bit, Nala? Like that the similarities in your story to his?
Well, my my trauma started in my mother's womb because, my family was always arguing, and as a child in utero, you hear all that stuff, so that also sets up an imprint when you coming into the world. My father was abusive to my mother. So I saw my mother being abused. My mother I fought my mother from going into the bathroom, wasn't successful at doing it, before blowing her brains out on the bathroom floor. So I saw this.
He did.
Uh,
Father did.
no, my father didn't do that. Mm-mm.
Oh,
No, my father was
you
no, he
fought your
wasn't
father.
there.
You fought
I fought my mother because I knew what she was getting ready to do. Also, too, at right after that, I was shipped to my grandfather's house after my mother died. Um, and my uncle started molesting me, and then from there, I just went from house to house and nobody would keep me. So my younger years was full of trauma, so, and I was repeating that cycle. I was, I didn't have any self-love. I didn't feel worthy. I mean, everybody could abuse me. I was everybody's doormat. I looked to others to guide my life. And yeah, any type of way. I was just everybody's in anybody's punching bag. And, my life was repeated, but I also did a lot of self-sabotaging things, making the decisions that I made, drawing those frequencies into my life, making those decisions, allowing people to abuse me, thinking that I'm not worthy enough. All that, was from my childhood. That was my foundation. So it just kept repeating and repeating
Mhm.
until I got tired and I went in. And so I'm a different person today. I mean, Monica, yeah, I mean, you remember me in my broken state, some of that.
Yeah, yeah, and I got like some of our stories are similar because I went through a very similar story. Like both of my parents are deceased. My mom was abused. I grew up. I got molested when I was six by 13-year-old babysitters. My mom used to leave me at babysitter's house when she was out drinking at the club and all type of stuff. And that's one thing to be said about these babysitters. You know what I'm saying? So you'll be
And
surprised. These young kids, like they get abused and abuse other kids. So yeah, I went through the same thing, like and almost to the point where it was almost a like a like a grape, grape situation,
hmm
right?
hmm
So I had like they, kind of held me down, kind of like on some like just like making me do something, and I was only 6 years old. And when I like told my mother, my mom didn't do nothing about it, and I just felt like this anger toward my mom the whole time. And I've been dealing with that ever since. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, why didn't you never do nothing? Even though she's deceased, I'm still mad at her, or I was still mad at her because she never did nothing about that situation. And that stores in your body.
and
Even
Yes, it does.
I don't want to say playing the victim mode or being in the position of claiming victimhood, because when I look at our parents, right, and I'm not making an excuse for them, but they did the best that they can do. A lot of them grew up in the same traumatic shit that they put us in. And then we have to remember also that we're not far from slavery. Our parents, we have cell memory, and cell memory is in every one of us. And we carry the cell memory of our ancestors from the beginning of time. And a lot of our ancestors was in that slavery bullshit. I mean, they had to sleep with their sons, brothers sleeping with brothers. They were abused and whipped. And, that cell memory passed on to us. So we're not only carrying the trauma of what we're going through, but we're carrying the trauma of our ancestors. So we do have to give our parents some grace. I mean, come on. They went through a lot of shit. They was doing the best that they can.
And you know what? I found out later on that my mom was raped at a very young age too, and that my grandmother actually like sent her off because the person that raped her from the town that we were in, they were like well to do, and it was like a thing where we couldn't say nothing about it. So it was better to have her sent off to another state than to even like go against this person. So that's kind of deep, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, I look at it like this: is that like we all have like some like really crazy trauma things that went on in our
It's
lives.
almost you're right. It's almost like it becomes the new rite of passage for us, and we have to kind of do the work to heal. I like to think of the monkey metaphor, or it's say it actually happened where you have some monkeys and they're on the shoreline and they start washing their fruit. Their genetic match, which is like oceans away, they then start to wash their fruit because they're having what you call a DNA upgrade or a DNA, however you want to put that. Their DNA is being changed by their own species that's across the oceans now washing this fruit. So I think about that with the responsibility that our parents, whether they could not or just chose not to deal with their own process, their own trauma, get help for us, get help for themselves. That for whatever reason was not the choice, and I believe almost everyone's situation and circumstance on this panel. So it becomes a new rite of passage where now, like you said, we're on autopilot with these behaviors that support the trauma and support the unprocessed nature of said trauma. And we do have a duty to ourselves to give ourselves the grace that we're this aware to then do that healing work because it does reach forward and backward, whether you're told about it or not. It can make some changes in the DNA amongst the family and the children to come. I say that
Descendants
from personal
and your
experience.
ancestors. Yeah,
Yes.
that's definitely a true statement. Yeah, it that type of healing modality, that whatever healing you do on yourself, it reaches six generations forward and six generations backwards. So you're not just healing yourself. You healing your lineages actually.
Yeah. That's
So
that's what African
I
science
really want to
says.
get into the healing modalities. Okay, so we did talk about the tapping. We did talk about the plant medicine. What other healing modalities are there out there to like be able to heal from like the
And
past?
I only got 10 minutes, so I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh yeah.
It's
You
all
know
right.
what? I want to
It's all
thank you
right.
so much for having the courage to come on here and say what you've said. It takes a lot of guts to do that. I
It
really
does.
admire you and
Absolutely.
thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
But I
And I
still want to
hope
ask
other young
what other healing
And Don,
modalities.
make sure you get in touch with me, okay?
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Let's also like add, but if we got 10 more minutes, what other healing modalities do we have that can help other people and also help Don to deal
If
with the
you have
trauma?
if you have access to mental health care, what I would say to anyone who's seeking a therapist, do not just pick the first therapist. Ask them what they have studied in. Ask them what they majored in when they were taking their courses. Because if you're dealing with trauma, you don't just need a basic psychologist. You need someone who's adept with dealing with trauma. And there are specific types of
Specialists.
therapy specialists. Exactly, there are specific types of therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy, and I believe it's called dialectical therapy. These are types of talk therapy, but they're kind of intensive in the way they help you repave your mind. So I was doing that with plant medicine, low dosing, and it helped tremendously. And when you're again, if you're seeking mental health care providers, shop around. If you are in a situation where you're not given one, do not just take the first person you see on the mental health provider list. Shop around, talk to people, feel the vibes. I remember I had was between therapists and I was trying to pick a new one, and I went to see this lady and I was happy because she was black, she looked like me. But as I'm telling her some of the worst things that have happened in my life, she had this kind of like smile on her face, and it was creeping me out. So I didn't pick her. So you
Right.
have some choice. I want to empower anyone listening to this. If you're in a situation where you have some insurance and you can pick your medical provider, pick your medical provider. Take the time to talk to them about what they specialize in and who they've worked on, and if they even have any references or referrals, people who or reviews that you can see on Google or their website to make sure you're making the right decision, because choosing your therapist is very it's an important part of the step if you choose that route.
All
And
right.
again, that was cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy.
All right, Nyla, what other like modalities?
Energy healing, where someone specializes in going inside your energetic system and pulling that energetic trauma out. I do that. Also, microdosing. I love microdosing psilocybin. I love hypnosis. I love tapping. Um, taking sacred plant medicines. Yeah,
And
anything
I
that's
can begin to meditate with you, Don. I can show you a few
also
meditation
meditation.
techniques.
Powerful. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing I'm going to end with is God. Having some belief in a higher
A
power,
higher power.
because at the end of the
Because that
day,
higher power is in
and
all of
that
us.
higher power is
Absolutely.
really you. It's really you. But
Hmm.
the understanding that we are that everything that's happening to you, that we're all connected, and that everything that is happening to you, that you're not the only one going through it. The biggest thing is that, like, the biggest issue that a lot of people are going through is they think that they're the only one that ever went through this in life. No, there's other people going through the same thing. And
Yeah.
if you understand there's a higher power on this earth, and that it's not all on you, you let go of the guilt, the shame, the
The
frustration.
anger, the rage, because you are not alone. And you can reach out to me. You can reach out to DJ Genesis on YouTube. And whatever resources we have in touch with us, including Nyla, we will make sure people who
Oh, I think her phone went out. But we will make sure that you got the best resources and the best help that you can. Nala, let's we're gonna what's your last things that you want to say leaving out?
Um, we don't have to stay in the trauma. It's not something that we have to live with the rest of our life. We can go in and really heal ourselves. Um, and that's really all that I have to say. And I just want to, thank you again for coming in, coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely.
And do give me a call, please.
I will.
Uh,
Much
Have a
love,
good night.
Nala. Thank you so much for joining us.
My
All right,
phone died, you guys. But I'm here.
Don Sensei, and what did you want to like add to just to like close this whole thing out?
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Um, it's not the end of the world for me. I went through all those things, I believe, for a reason. And if the reason is to help other people, then that's what it's for. You know what I'm saying? I believe in God is very strong. He got me through everything else, and He'll get me through this.
Well, I thank you so much for telling your story, and God bless you. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
being
you for
here.
having me and hosting this. Thank you.
Yes, for sure, because like we need to talk about mental health in our community. we just throw our children off. Oh, this person is not acting the way I want them to act. Okay, well, we just like leave them out. Well, you can't come stay with me. That's what I've been dealing with. Well, she can't come back stay with me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got the money. And then they end up somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And no one gives a crap about where they end up. We need to have more respect and more love for our people. Like this is a beautiful soul, you know. And I
Yeah.
really want people to really understand like that when you see a person that's going through mental health, that it's not a joke, it's not like a laughing matter, and we need to like really support our people that are going through things like this
Mhm.
because
Healing
it might not even
available.
be their fault. It might not even be their fault. They could just be overdosed on stuff, double dosed, super dosed, shot up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I really want to just really talk about like bringing darkness to light, and this is what this platform's about. Much love to everybody. Thank you, Don Sensei. Thank you, Oya. Thank you, Nyla. Thank you, Derek, for joining. Thank you for Mario for joining. You know, even though they
Love.
much love to everybody that joined this platform today, and shouts out. We are bringing darkness to light with alchemizing energy, and
And we can't forget the mantra that we did the last time, alchemizing.
Oh, let's do it
What was
on
it?
three.
What, so, Monica, what are we saying?
alchemizing energy, bringing darkness to light. Everybody say that. Alchemizing energy, bringing. I'm gonna say
Bring
one, two,
darkness to light.
three. Alchemizing energy, bringing
Energy.
Bringing
Bringing darkness to light.
1, 2, 3.
Alchemy.
Alchemizing energy, bringing
Bringing
darkness
darkness to
to
light.
light.